Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. Welcome to another video. Just want to throw up a video of Mike Trout real quick. And let's see what perfect mechanics look like. Obviously, he's someone that you want all of our sons and players and teammates to model your swings after, right? Because obviously he's just absolutely crushes. He kills the ball, and he does it consistently, and he does it year in and year out. But I want to start off with a story really quick. And I promise this story is going to help you guys a ton when you start to understand your swings and you start to evaluate your performances on a day-to-day basis. So for those of you that remember Paul Konerko was a first baseman for the Chicago White Sox. And Paul Konerko actually had some really good seasons where he hit over 30 home runs and over 100 RBIs. So they took one of his seasons where he was in the top 3 of the MVP voting, and they took all of his at-bats, right? So the benchmark for a major league season is 600 at-bats. So this season he had a little over 600 at-bats, like 630 at-bats or something like that, and they took every single one of his swings from the entire season. So it was over 1,000 swings because of foul balls and things like that, and times he got out. So over 1,000 swings, and they overlaid all of those swings. They overlaid over 1,000 swings, so one on top of the other. Literally overlaid just means they put one video on top of the other, right? So over 1,000 swings that they overlaid. And if you want to talk about perfect swing mechanics, he only had perfect swing mechanics on about 35 swings. Can you believe that? Over 600 at-bats, over 1,000 different swings, and he only had perfect swing mechanics on about 35 of them, where everything in his swing worked perfectly, right? His step, his stride, his posture, his bat lag position, his hand path, everything. 35 swings. So there's just so much variance that happens in a game because obviously you see it a little bit differently, you time it up a little bit differently, pitch location's a little bit different. So there's so many different variables, right? But, a couple of big things to keep in mind is if we can keep our bat on the same path of the ball for a long period of time, we're going to give ourselves an opportunity to throw out a base hit and, be successful over a wider range. And if we just get into the box, and this is really important, if we just get into the box and we just compete with the pitcher, if we just compete with the ball, then we're going to have such a better chance to have success than to worry about taking a perfect swing every single time. So, those are huge points to keep in mind. Get into the box, compete, and that's going to really, really, really pay off in the long run. So, anyways, these perfect swings that we're trying to break down, that we're trying to get to, are literally just points where we're trying to form our swing to, right? We're not going to have a perfect swing every time, but the perfect swing is what we're striving for. And the closer we can get to it, the more success we're going to have on a consistent basis. So let's jump into this thing. Let's see, Mike Trout, very starting point. Stance is completely different for everybody. Stance is a style, and you should only change your stance if it interferes with timing and repeatability. So if you can't time it up consistently, you might want to simplify your stance. And if you're consistently late, or you can't get in the same position, then you might want to change your stance and simplify it. But Trout, pretty basic setup. Hands are a little bit higher. Very first thing that we're going to look at is when he starts to load up, he starts to move forward. He sits into this back leg, right? So the perfect principles to keep in mind, right, for all you youth players out there. Knees stay inside of feet. Hips stay inside of knees. So he loads up, knees inside of feet, hips inside of knees. He keeps his bat pointed towards the catcher. So the knob of the bat is pointed towards the catcher until he starts to swing. Elbow up. That's a big debate. Elbow up, elbow down. He gets his elbow up, about shoulder height. His lead shoulder is slightly lower than that back shoulder, and you're going to see that same posture hold true until he starts to rotate, and his head is slightly out in front of his belly button. So he's just putting himself into an attack position, okay? So knees inside of feet, hips inside of knees, front shoulder slightly lower than back shoulder, knob of the bat towards the catcher, elbow up, and his hands are over his back leg, right? So they're behind his body. In regards to his swing, behind your body is just over your back leg, right? So they're not in front of his body, they're over his back leg. So I take him a little bit further forward. Okay. I take him to when that front foot lands. Same thing, now with the bat towards the catcher, hands are over his back foot. He has a downhill posture where his front shoulder is slightly lower than that back shoulder. His head's out in front of his belly button, knees inside of feet, hips inside of knees. And then from that position, the bat's going to stay close to this back shoulder, so it's going to stay connected. It's going to stay tight. So he stays connected to the back shoulder. His lower half's going to start to rotate, and his elbow is going to slot into his rib cage. I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. So his elbow, as you can see, his right elbow slots into his rib cage. So it slots down. You guys can see that same action. It slots, it gets down towards almost where his belt is. So his elbow's in here. Like I said before, his bat stays close to that back shoulder, so he stays connected. Big misconception, coaches teach that their hands push straight forward. That is simply not true. They just stay tight to that back shoulder. You can see his hands still over that back leg, right? His hips are starting to rotate, his lower half starting to rotate. But same thing, knees inside of feet, hips inside of knees. His posture is starting to rotate, so you can see his lead shoulder is higher than that back shoulder. Take him a little bit further forward now to contact. Bat stays connected. Lower half rotates more. Same thing's going on. All right. We'll pause him at contact. So I know it's a little blurry, it's a little tough to see, right? But the ball making contact with the bat. Posture reverses, right? So lead shoulder slightly above that back shoulder. But his posture, pay attention here, because this posture is straight up and down with his body. So his body stays vertical. He's not leaning backwards, he's not leaning forward. Knees are inside of his feet, hips are inside of his knees. He's hitting against a firm front side, so that front leg firms up. That back leg rotates. So his shoelaces turn, his knee turns, his hip turns. He's facing the pitcher. He literally gets off that back foot. It's just called a drag line. Everyone's a little bit differently. The principle is just to transfer into that front leg. Head down at contact, obviously. That lead arm stays tight to his jerseys, tight to his body, just so he stays close and he stays stronger with his upper half. If his arms were to rush forward and his arm was out here, then he would be swinging more with just his hands than using his entire body. Take him a little bit further forward to his finish. That palm stays up. That right palm stays to the sky. That left palm stays down. And that's his extension. So he's on path with the ball for a long period of time. So I'll play it through a couple of times so you guys can see it in slow motion, but you can see it all connected together. Keeps his posture, knees inside of feet, hips inside of knees. He's got a positive movement towards the pitcher. Hands are back, behind his backside. One more time. Stays through the ball. So that palm stays up for a long period of time. Lower half rotates. Loads on that back leg, hands work back, knees inside of feet, hips inside of knees, stays connected, lower half rotates, stays through the ball. So there you go, guys. There's the whole thing completely put together. I hope it helps. I'll let this continue to play. If you like the video and it helps, if you pick out one or two things from it you can implement into your swing, definitely do so. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the page and subscribe. We got new videos coming out all the time. So I wish you guys nothing but the best. Good luck and go get 'em.